or informal, also they do receive the benefits of protection under the policies that we've created in the Malaysian Council. So other than that, we do have like projects focused on creating a surplus for vulnerable groups such as the indigenous youth in Malaysia, or we call them orang asli in Malaysia. For your information, this is under program named Skill Building for All. So for now, we are focusing on indigenous, and one of the project is bamboo straw. So from here, the kampung that we focus are in one of the state of Malaysia, which is Negeri Sembilan. This particular project managed to create job opportunities to some of the villages in the same, the villages itself. So the participant came up with the idea doing the bamboo straws, so managed to, I cannot say hire, but they work together. So from here, whatever the profits that they gain from the project, they will divide equally. And also, for future forward, how to actually they want to be better, or what they need to improve is mostly are gaining more partners to support the project. Because when they were focusing on the bamboo straw, they have another problem that they out of resource. So they take about another 5 years. They actually plant back all the bamboos, but they need another 5 years for them to harvest. So from here, they are lacking of resource. So they need more partners to expand the project. So that is number one. Other than that, they need partners from the government or maybe other entities to help them with the machines and so on, so they can elevate the project. So that is all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, B. Can I call on Zone next?
Yeah. Right. Okay. My organization is the Home-Based Producers Cooperative. As a producers cooperative, what we do at present is really sell the products of our members. Since we are still a very small co-op, we do not we haven't employed full-time workers except for one, she's also paid according to the number of days that she worked. Now the rest are volunteers, and these volunteers, they only get travel and food allowance. How about our other members? How do they benefit? Then because we sell the products. Our priority is really the products of our members. That in a way provide employment because their product. We have our store, the brick and mortar store. We also have our Change, and then we also have our. We bring their products around. So that's how our members earn. Because we have, HomeNet Producers is really an organization for home-based workers. Now, what are you going to do? What are we planning to do to make the participation wider? That is, we are transforming into a multi-purpose cooperative. As a multi-purpose cooperative, we can have more services, and also more services would mean really more, not only income, but also participation on the part of our members. That's it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So maybe we can move on to the next room. Well, what's the next room, Vince?
The next room is kapayapaan. First is kaligayahan, then kalayaan. Which room are you? You are in kalayaan, right?
That's us, kalayaan service.
Okay. Yeah. Would you like to share, Rodmer?
Yeah, Hera and Arjun will be sharing from our group. So
Okay, thank you, Rodmark.
Hera first. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
go ahead, Hira.
Okay, thank you, Vince. I think I can share my screen first to see the what I'm doing right now with
You're
the
able to
platform
share
called.
it actually. Yes.
Yeah. This is the uh, platform I'm working on. This is cooperative, and then we are teacher. Actually, I'm not online teacher, but it is for online teacher. We established we started like 2020, but we started not 2021, and then but registered in UK in 2020 second. It's just 1 year there. So this is the related to what we talk about doesn't work. So this platform with other platform to back up by the venture capital, we just back up by the teacher. So it's really slowly growing, but we can have this like roadmap before asking what the benefit of the member. So the member get the better wages because they can set their own price, and then they can create their own lessons. It can't be there happen it on our platform, and then we have paid them off. So if you want to get a lesson like 7 days, and you can just leave the, you don't lose your student. And then and it's the important thing, but it's like decision making. So we decide everything together. Everyone heard and everyone has voice, and then they can say what they think, the opinion, and we don't put any penalties if teacher don't come up or turn up during the session, because maybe they can't leave. Like if you teaching in another platform and you can't turn up in the time, you get penalties, but not in our platform co-op. And then of course, in the related to digital economy, you can work anytime and anywhere in the world. Now I want to show home what is inside in the, wait, it's easy to, okay, I will log in first, and then we will see what is inside. No, wait, where's that? Okay, this is what we have in our platform, and then you get, this is the member we have, and then this is the interesting. It is yeah, this is all members. We have 134. These already members, but we have like 200 what is probation member. We have the co-op training. So everyone who join our co-ops, you should through this process. And then we also have the training center for the teacher if they want to increase their capabilities. We have teacher bootcamp, training videos, and also this is the course we have right now, mostly still English. And then yeah, and then this is what we call about the democratic. So everyone can join this, the volunteer jobs, and then also join a committee. But the committee is to decided like we plan to apply sociocracy. So committee will be a circle. We can get everyone involved. And then if we talk about the informal to informal, so everyone can get job here, and then this is formal work. It's because community as a society, cooperative society in UK. That's from me. Thank you.
Awesome share, Hera. Thank you very much. Arjun, are you ready to share?
Okay, just I don't have a presentation, just I'll
That's
share
okay.
briefly
Thank you.
about the cooperative the moments and what we are doing in
Kenapa?
Nepal.
Dah boleh masuk.
Uh,
Umi tak cakap. Kenapa?
Sorry. Okay, so the cooperative that we are promoting in Nepal, mostly in the focusing for the women's and the young peoples, and very popular in Nepal, the cooperatives movements. And we know especially the social solidarity economy and the social enterprise, also the cooperative organizations, because we don't have like special laws and policies. Normally, there's two types of cooperatives. One is the microfinance, or this it's called saving cooperative, saving and credit cooperatives, and other, of course, this this production cooperative. So we focus both cooperatives, but however now is more popular in the saving and credit cooperatives, because it provides money to the small scale enterprises, women's groups, and poor and marginalized peoples, and of course it is very easy and accessible for the all groups of members. But the problems are now because of the not that strict laws and policies. Sometimes there's the cooperative collapse, and then the members will lost the money, and sometimes there's some board of directors of cooperative, they collect the money, and then they actually they misuse the money. So that is the issue now we are facing, and so for that, as I'm advocating SSE and social enterprise movement across the country, so we are demanding the good policies, laws and policy for SSE in Nepal. But now it's very popular in getting popular SSE. However, production cooperatives or production SSE especially is getting trouble to sell their goods, because of the cheap products come from the India and China, and Chinese product is very cheap. So it's very difficult to compete to our members to sell their products. So and then so government is there's, because of the open borders and the international treaty, they are unable to block their products to come in Nepal. So now our strategic direction, couple of we are making some certain rules and regulation for to how we can promote our production in our own country, or those the women's group, they produce, or youth group they produce, and they utilize their own skills. So for that we are organizing couple of advocacy activities, and next Friday we are organizing the big social enterprise symposium, inviting the minister, academia, and the larger enterprise, more than 100 people. And then we are making a draft bill, and then providing to the government, and at least to introduce that bill in the next parliament, and hopefully we'll continue advocate for the better policy for SSE in Nepal. So that is the brief my sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Arjun. We only had time for 2 sharing, Prof. Benji. So that's
No
from
worries.
our group Kalayaan.
That's,
Thank you.
That's enough. Yeah. So for our last group, so is that what's that room called again, Vince? Our third
Kapayapaan,
session.
Aya.
Yeah. For Kapayapaan, can I call on who? Who will report for Kapayapaan?
I think it's Indrani. Indrani, turn microphone off.
Indrani, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I've been asked to report from the group, but I will be actually talking from Marilyn's group. I mean, Marilyn is actually a group enterprise based in Cavite. So I would like to ask Marilyn to add on if I kind of didn't capture rightly, but she talked about the informal movement of the domestic workers, and how they try to transition from an informal movement to a formal sector, where currently now there's a law that provides, because previously there was no recognition of the domestic workers, but now with the pushing of the law, now there is registration of the domestic workers, and there's also standardization of salaries for the domestic workers. And in terms of social protection, now the employer provides 1/3 of the social protection for the domestic workers, and also then now there's a formal contract between the employer and the domestic workers. Her group also then tried to include livelihood projects for this group. They were actually part of her group enterprise, and so they did a lot of savings generation through these home-based products and so on. And whenever they, especially during COVID and all that, when they couldn't sell, her organization then provided some sort of support for them to recover economically. That's what I have here. If there's anything that Marilyn wants to add on. And then we also had Eri who started to share about Bina Sodaya, which has about 300 employees, and she talked about how they have the right to actually set up their own associations. So they usually set up cooperatives among themselves, and these are actually owned by the employees, similar to, I think, the cooperative that you talked about, Prof. Ben. And then where they also then try to provide loans through the savings that they collect. And they also provide social protection, especially during any family emergencies and so on. And that's where actually we kind of stop. So I would like to ask or request both Eri or Marilyn to add on to what I've shared. Thank you.
Thank you, Indrani. Okay, I guess that's actually a good summary of the two SSEOs in the group. Yeah, so I guess if there's no clarifications or addition, just a short summary, I guess. So hearing from the sharing, obviously there are gaps in terms of decent work for people employed or engaged, involved in SSEOs. And this is most probably a result of the fact that most SSEOs are small. Many are just starting actually, right? So they lack resources. But so what we need to do, okay, given the knowledge about the normative framework of decent work, is for how SSEOs can fill in those gaps, right? Upscale to compliance with the principles of the decent work. And within the context of the SSEO, this should be a lot easier, facilitated with the fact that this can be done collectively with voice and participation of the members, the users of or consumers of SSEOs. So yeah, so with that, we close that part. And I'll share screen again. I hope you see it. I'll make a quick presentation of this. It can be seen already, Vince, right?
Yes, Prof. We can see it.
Yeah. So similar to the decent work, our objectives for the digital economy and future of work is again to define what is the future of work. There are actually opportunities and challenges, and then again how the SSE can adapt to those challenges of the future of work. And then we'll see quickly two examples of platform cooperatives, which are actual examples of SSE using digitalization as an enabler for their work. Okay. So in summary, if you think about it, digitalization can either be a threat or an opportunity. So it's both at the same time. Okay. It just depends. How can we increase the opportunities and mitigate the threats? Well, we need regulation. We need action from government. We need positive action by non-government actors even to ensure that digitalization does not promote abuse and exploitation. Instead, that it enables social protection in this new arena, what we call digital rights. We'll talk about that a bit later. So just the important thing is that digitalization is not necessarily good or not necessarily bad by itself. Okay. What's important is regulation by government, and then action even by non-government actors to ensure that digitalization promotes inclusion, that it benefits everyone. Okay. The problem is that digitalization under the context of the present global economy is actually monopolized, okay? Because the digital economy is just one aspect of the whole economy. It's actually the utilization of digital technology in order to facilitate, to improve, to make more efficient what we are already doing in manufacturing, in services, okay? And of course, in those sectors, we see global firms dominating the market, controlling global supply chains. In terms of the digital economy, that's basically the same thing. We have a few global companies like Amazon, like Google, like Apple, and also like Alibaba of China. We can include that actually. Okay, they're able to monopolize the provision of internet, for example. They're able to monopolize the access software that we use, the search engines like Google that we use on a daily basis. Okay, they're able to monetize the data that they get from people using that apps, for example, like Facebook. They harvest personal data, the way we behave online, and then they're able to monetize it. They're able to use that and sell that data to other companies. Okay. So what has happened is that also through outsourcing, like in the BPOs, we see that in India, we see that in the Philippines, these global companies are able to take advantage of cheap labor in the global south. So we now still have colonialism, but just a different, a new type. We can call it digital colonialism. Okay. During the pandemic and even before the pandemic, we obviously saw a shift of work towards what we now call the platform economy, using the advantages of digital technology in order to facilitate the delivery of services. So for example, online selling, okay? Or for example, delivery of products to our homes. Okay? Unfortunately, under what we call neoliberal conditions or the free market with policies which privilege the free market, what we now have is that jobs in the platform economy have become a new arena for informalization. Instead of regular workers with social protection, instead you now have riders, drivers who are considered freelancers or independent conductors, and that means they're on their own in terms of social protection. If they meet an accident, the apps will not provide for them because they're not considered employees. Okay. How can SSE adapt, okay, or mitigate these challenges? Well, again, because SSE work is mostly labor intensive, okay, and then second, many SSEOs provide personal services. And if you think about it, it is this kind of work which is more immune to automation and digitalization. one of the most pressing concerns with regards to the future of work is what has been called the end of work. The fact that human labor will be displaced by robots, by automated machines, or even by artificial intelligence, right? But fortunately, the SSE is an sector where there is actually employment growth. Overall on the economy, it is jobs that are that's delivery of personal services, that are in the care economy. So for example, provision of health, provision of personal labor. If you look at studies, this is where they say that there will be a job growth in comparison to other areas where, because of automation, digitalization, there will be less jobs available. Okay? Therefore, SSE is in a good position in terms of taking advantage of these changes or this new world of work. Okay, SSEOs are well placed to still deliver products and services because they are in certain areas which are less immune to the impact of automation and digitalization. But of course, that doesn't mean that SSE cannot take advantage of digitalization. Okay? So one area by which the SSE can be a positive, have positive impact is in improving digital rights. Okay? I mentioned earlier that what has happened is that big global companies, what has been called big tech, has been able to monopolize the benefits of well, not necessarily benefit, has been able to monopolize the profits in the digital economy. And then this shift in digitalization also reinforces pre-existing disparities between the rich and the poor, between men and women. So for example, just to cite one example, well, we saw during the pandemic when schools shifted to online learning, okay, children of rich families were able to seamlessly transition because they can, their children have their own rooms, they have gadgets, they have reliable internet. Unfortunately, school children from poor families, of course, were disadvantaged because their homes were not big enough for them to have separate learning areas. Okay, so the living room was the same as the dining room, was the same as your overnight classroom because you're now learning from home, right? And then, of course, we all know these challenges with internet access, gadget ownership. And we see that also between men and women. Okay, for example, in South Asia, it's frequently mentioned that there's a great disparity between ownership in gadgets between men and women. And that, of course, disadvantaged women, for example, when they had to use digitalization, when they had to shift to digital forms of interaction and even modes of work during the pandemic. Women, for example, who lacked gadgets could not access aid that was transmitted through online mechanism. So this is what we call the digital divide that has been widened even more. So this is why we say there has to be regulation. There must be policies that specifically target how to mitigate the gap, okay, to lessen this gap between rich and poor, men and women, or different nationalities or different castes, for example. There must be policies to ensure equity or equality, there must be public investment in what are called digital public goods. For example, platforms, digital platforms that people can utilize. Okay, so for example, informal workers, can they do online selling? Can the government provide facilities for that? Can there be public Wi-Fi that the government provides so that even poor people can take advantage of work opportunities that are opened up through digital technology? Of course, skills and education must be acquired in this new brave world of digitalization, of education in science, technology, and mathematics. This question of access to internet and ownership of gadgets. Of course, although there's probably less of that disparity in Southeast Asia, but from studies, it's clear that in South Asia, I mean, there's still that big gap between gadget ownership and internet access for men and girls in particular. So again, just to mention the digital skills, SSEOs must take advantage of this. A few SSEOs I know already took advantage of it. They were able to shift online. HomeNet, for example, they initiatives of local HomeNet chapters did that, and then the HomeNet regional during the pandemic undertook trainings in order to upskill their members in digital technology in order to facilitate their shift to online selling, for example. So this is a challenge for everyone, but of course, most especially to informal workers, because we'll know their vulnerabilities. They would be lacking in education, lacking in resources, right? So that's why they need targeted assistance, either from, most especially from government, but also from non-state actors. Okay. Of course, the pandemic really showed the necessity of acquiring digital skills. So one arena by which the SSE can really make a difference is through the establishment of platform cooperatives. Platform cooperatives are apps that are owned and managed by the users themselves, or by workers, or by other stakeholders. So this is an alternative to the model of a corporate digital platform. So think Grab in Southeast Asia, or Uber and Lyft in the US or in Europe, right? So, or again in Southeast Asia, Food Panda. So these are the corporate apps which treat their workers as freelancers or independent contractors, which they won't answer for in terms of accidents, minimum wages, and other types of social protection. Platform co-ops, because they're actually established by members, okay, are able to precisely respond to these challenges of workers in corporate digital platforms. So participatory and democratic governance that we know exists in cooperatives, now you translate it to the digital arena through platform cooperatives. And there are already platform cooperatives that cover different sectors, from food delivery through cleaning services, and also ride hailing, and we'll cover that in a while. Okay. Although many platform cooperatives are still marginal, it cannot compete with on scale. It still cannot compete with Grab, Uber, Food Panda. They're still startups, but they are developing. There are actually two notable examples of platform cooperatives. One is in the US, the other is in Brazil. In the US, just before the pandemic, just right at the just in time for the pandemic, former drivers of Uber and Lyft banded together, and they said, well, we need to respond to the grievances, because Uber drivers and Lyft drivers of Uber and Lyft fell into debt from acquiring vehicles, and then from low incomes while driving for these big companies. So they were actually initially thinking, what about if we unionize and then bargain with Uber and Lyft? But they did not pursue it for several reasons. Well, not enough time to discuss it. And then they decided, well, why don't we form our own? And with support from other organizations, they formed the Drivers Cooperative, a workers-owned platform for ride-hailing. And it covered a few thousands already after a few years in operation. So it's basically an alternative to Uber and Lyft, workers-owned, like a workers-owned Uber, something like that. Another example of a platform app is Kataki, which is an app in Sao Paulo, Brazil, which this is an app which matches household with waste pickers. Okay, so it has actually been jokingly called the Tinder for waste picking. I don't know if you're familiar with Tinder. It's like a matching for like a dating app, right? Matching men and women, or men to men, or whatever, for romantic or companionship purposes. So this is matching households with which needs to let go of their waste to waste pickers who will gather them. So of course, without the benefit of the app, you know, waste pickers will just knock on the doors or move through the streets. Now they're facilitated through the use of an app. Okay, so for a fee, households will pay so that these waste pickers will get from their garbage and waste from them. The waste pickers, of course, benefit in so many ways. If you just think about it, right? They're benefited in lots of ways through the use of an app. And then this app is being further developed. Like, for example, they have like reminders about if you do recycling, you will save this much in terms of carbon emissions. So there's also that angle to Kataki. So two, again, marginal examples of platform cooperatives, but they're actually bigger than others. Okay? Other platform co-ops are actually much smaller in scale. So there's still a lot of potential for platform co-ops to upscale and again, take advantage of digital technology to improve conditions of workers. For example, waste pickers who are informal workers, or drivers who are still in the informal economy, but should really be in the formal sector. I hope there's still time. There's a short video here, so there's still some time. It's just
it's okay, Prof. You can show that.
A new rideshare company in New York City. The Drivers Cooperative is a driver-owned service. Today in the Bronx, drivers picked up their certificates showing their share of the company that boasts 2,500 drivers. Some say that they're making more money than driving for Uber and Lyft, and they will get to keep most of the fare.
And I'm so proud to be a driver of this company. And I've already done 4 rides, and I'm so happy I have no words to say.
One share for each member. And that basically gives members voting rights, and it also allows them to share in the profits if they have profits at the end of the year.
Customers can download the Drivers Co-op Ride app.
So I hope you get a sense. You got a sense. Sorry. So yeah, so I hope you get a sense of that drivers co-op So ayan, it's just your usual app, but of course it is owned now by the drivers themselves. Okay. So yeah, so to the question, is there a future for work in the SSE, or can the SSE improve conditions for workers in the digital age, in the era of future of work? The answer is yes, of course, but there has to be enabling regulation from the government, and there has to be really targeted reforms responding to the digital divide, upscaling digital skills, and ensuring digital rights. So yeah. So any questions from the groups? That was like a quick review of the future of work and its intersection with the SSE. Although, of course, other than a platform cooperative, there are ways by which the SSE can intervene in the or use digital technology to enable their work. So, for example, we know HomeNet has shifted to online selling through the use of, and then training in digital skills has facilitated that. Yeah, Rod Mark.
Yes, Prof. To give an example, here in the Philippines, study was conducted. One of the SDGs that we really lag behind is SDG 9, which includes digitalization. And a study was conducted in 2018 that showed only about 41% of the entire population has access to the internet. But the good thing about the pandemic is that it hastened digitalization by 5 years. So there's really a lot of potential and a lot of gaps that could be addressed in the coming years, probably, no, specifically in the Philippines. A specific example is that during the pandemic, many of the farmers had huge problem in bringing their produce to market because of all the restrictions caused by COVID. So some SSEOs have actually made platform apps that would connect the market to the farmers. So there are several existing apps now, but of course these are still very small and startups basically. And the thing is, I'm not sure if this is also true for the other countries, but here in the country, big corporations really have a lot of power, even in terms of persuading government to side with them. Let's just use that word. And SSEOs really have to work double time to fill the gaps that are needed for society and the environment in general. So thank you for the lecture, Prof. Benj. Really many things to learn. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you to Rod Mark for sharing those examples of farmers using apps, again, for matching farmers to consumers or their markets, right? And thank you for mentioning. I'm not aware of that study, but good that I think I looked that up, that study about how the gap in internet access in the Philippines, right? So I guess in most that would be true again, I think too, in other countries. And as mentioned by Rod Mark, there's actually in many ways the digitalization can enable conditions, livelihood for the vulnerable, like farmers, informal workers, right? So other, if is there like any questions or ideas to share from the group? B said there's also issues about payment gateways. So yeah. So that's also true. So for example, if you want to you need a bank account, right? So for so that you can pay through online through online means or credit card, right? So yeah. So of course not everyone has a bank, and even less people have credit cards, right? So not everyone can take advantage. Although they're now, like, for example, money transfers. In the Philippines, it's called GCash. I'm sure in other countries they have, it's like WeChat in China, right? This you can pay through online portal, right? And then you just put in money through by going to a brick and mortar store. If you don't have a bank account, of course. If you have a bank account, you can do it, of course, online. Michael?
Yeah. Well, Elon Musk has been, for many times, has been saying about the specter of the digital, the AI, which will really cripple jobs by the millions. I mean, it's now happening. You can even try yourself, no? And this will be even better than Google, because you can even dictate on ChatGPT or AI.com. If you want to say you want a script on this, you say something, that it will automatically,
Yes.
you make a essay, it will make it for you. I mean, and so what are the jobs threatened? Even lawyers, doctors, I mean, a lot more. So perhaps the bigger challenge now would be to push for universal basic income, which is one of the things that's being, because really, if you research further, that's what will happen. I mean, in the so many professions and jobs will be both blue collar and white collar jobs will be displaced.
Yeah, that's true. Although,
No, so I don't know how to navigate given those emerging, and you just Elon Musk is one of those who's pushing, was advocating that there should be some form of regulation. But he said this could even be worse than nuclear war. I mean,
yeah. So I guess there's really one scenario.
YouTube,
Yeah. Although my own personal opinion about this question of end of work is that this is not really the first time that people have predicted the end of work. Like, go back 100 years, people have been saying, well, because of machines, not digital yet then, human labor will be extinct. But of course, what has happened is that every time there's developments in technology, you also have new kinds of jobs that are created. Although some are saying maybe this is something qualitatively different. Although other are saying, well, there's still this issue of unless robots can be as caring and as emotional as fellow humans, right? Then nurses, right, carers will still have work. So maybe that's the new terrain for work for human beings. So anyway, but it's good. It's good to yeah, that's really it's a good for discussion. It's up for this discourse and discussion. Yeah,
on
Rodmark.
the other side, you cannot
yeah.
also stop the advances in technology. We cannot be Luddites. I mean, anti-technology.
Yes.
The revolution, the Luddites
destroyed the machines. Right?
Destroyed the machine. Because in the same way, like nawala na yung RCPI telegrams, no? Or the easy call pager, di ba?
Yes.
Beepers, they were all gone. What came? The analog cell phone. Later, the smartphones. Ngayon, 5G na. May 6G na and everything. So ang din, the growth in advanced technology is so exponential that the social relations, the organization, human find difficulty adjusting even human behavior, or will be that's the danger. That's the so anyway, just
Although also, I guess one idea is this. Well, if robots can do the job, then we have less work to do, and then we have more
time
hours
for
for
leisure, and yeah.
Yes. So
In
that's
fact,
maybe that's
that,
what progress means, right?
that was also what John Maynard Keynes said. A century hence,
Yes.
probably will have 4 hours only work,
Yes,
and the
that's
rest
right.
you can spend on art, music, leisure, etc.
Yes.
But
Well,
the high productivity of a society of economy should shoulder those who will be displaced on a mass scale. I'm talking mass scale,
Correct,
I'm
correct.
million. So the concept of universal basic income should be pushed, because the resulting displacement will be catastrophic in terms of social, political
Yeah, it will
consequences.
really be disruptive. Yes, that's
Really
right.
disruptive.
Yeah, great ideas from Michael. Yeah, Rodmark. I think Rodmark also wants to chime in. Yeah.
Just to tackle on the issue that Sir Michael raised also, no? I guess any kind of innovation, not just AI, it really depends who would wield it, no? If let's say it's really the neoliberal economy and all these oligarchs who is only after profits, then I guess they would really come up with ways to eradicate all kinds of jobs, no? And that's why there's need really for some kind of control over everything. But then again, like just for AI now, even the CEO, Microsoft is the biggest, was one of the first to invest heavily in this new AI, especially ChatGPT. But the CEO gave an example of this was just recently, last January. He was in a forum, and he gave this example that he visited a very rural Indian location in India, and he saw the application of chat. There was one social entrepreneur who used the open AI platform to create this app that farmers could use. Farmers who needed to this simple task of registering with government agencies. A lot of farmers in India apparently couldn't do it because they didn't have the know-how. The forms were too complicated for them. So this person, the social entrepreneur, what he did was he created this app where the farmer would just talk to the app, and the app would
In their language.
translate the language
Yeah.
automatically and instantly fill out all the forms that he needs. He will just give the data by talking. So again, the application is useful for social problems.
On that end, it also becomes beneficial.
Yes, and I guess this is like for the educational sector. This is also one of the things that they have to look at. Do they look at it as do they look at Chat GPT and AI as competition that will eliminate all teachers, or do they need to step up because the educational system is, let's face it, it's way behind. So maybe that's a challenge for many of us with this AI.
Yeah, it has already provoked in UP vibrant discussion about the role of chat GPTs and similar AI in education. Yeah. So I guess well, as long as yeah, but as long as we have fora for people who are affected to be able to share their opinions, think what do they want in life, and how these things can improve rather than be a detriment. So I guess that's still good. That's why we need well, I think of control as regulation by government of these big companies, right?
Regulation ng that would
And
entail
then
a lot of discourse then now. And that's
yeah,
where
and also
groups like civic
targeted
groups can come in.
Yeah, these targeted programs could definitely include universal basic income. Yeah. I know there are already groups who are advocating for that. So we need more discussion about that, right? So I guess, yeah. So if there's no
Prof. Bench, we have
yes.
let's have one more question before we close this, since it's already 5:18. I think Kap Prime has a question. Kap Prime, would you like to would you like to ask your question? I can see it on the chat, in the chat box.
Oh yeah, I also see it on the chat box. Who will benefit from digitalization of production and marketing, the workers or the capitalists? Well, the short answer is that this will depend on regulation. Without regulation, okay, what we're seeing actually is that the benefits are monopolized by capitalists, and actually the global capitalists are the ones who benefit tremendously, and kind of down the line, right? But with proper regulation and then with targeted programs to mitigate the digital divide, to upskill digital skills of everyone, including the vulnerable, including informal workers. So then even ordinary people can take advantage of the benefits of digital technology. And that's really what should happen, right? That's why we have this agenda of leaving no one behind, right? Inclusive growth, sustainable development. It's just applying these principles to this new realm of the digital technology. Well, it's not really that new, but of course it's rapidly changing life as we know it. So yeah, so without any follow-up, if Prime has no follow-up, so I guess we could close with that. I know we've gone over time by 20 minutes, and I've taxed your patience already. Although I also appreciate the discussion. This is really an urgent question. This is important. The future of work, digital, the question of digitalization and its intersection with SSE. I guess we can continue the discussion offline or asynchronously through Dakila. I know this must have provoked some ideas on your part, so we can continue the discussion asynchronously. Again, this is one benefit of digital technology. We have limited time for synchronous, so we can take advantage of asynchronous. Well, we can still discuss through Dakila. I hope we can share your ideas if we didn't have time now. And
Dakila?
Oh, that's the platform that we use. It's a digital education platform.
Can you send me links or
yeah, okay. Vince, maybe I can ask Vince to to cater to the request from Manuel.
Michael.
Okay.
Michael, sorry.
Michael Aluna.
Post your email address on the chat box, and I'll be more than happy to provide you with the link.
Oh, an email address of Michael.
Yes,
yeah,
that's right. Before anything else, let's give Prof. Bench our warmest round of virtual applause. It's not easy to hold the discussion as comprehensive as this for 3 hours, okay, on a weekend. Okay, so let's give him credits for this session.
Maraming salamat, Vince. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
Very hard work.
And then for further discussions, I will be opening a synchronous forum in Dakila for further questions after this discussion. And perhaps I may before I ask Dean Inday to say her final voice for this session.
No more.
Everyone
I think
first.
we've stretched it too far already, but I would like to take this opportunity to invite everyone to the next synchronous session, which is really very interesting because it will be on SSE and social movements. That means movements like the fair trade movement. We will have speakers from Indonesia and Cambodia, resource persons from many countries. Next time, we have also the movements for food sovereignty, agroecology, and community-supported agriculture. And then we'll see how digital technology also influences these movements. No? So please make it a point to be present next. Our last discussion session will be next week, because on the 25th we will have graduation, and each of you will have a chance to to share your thoughts on the potentials and limitations of SSE. So thank you very much for your presence and for your patience, and see you next week. Thank you, Benji, for doing so much
Thank you,
work today.
Tininday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Bye,
Dean.
everyone. Wala ba
Thank
tayong
you,
group photo?
Dean. Thank you, Prof.
Meron
Benji.
din, Inday. I was supposed to
Group
invite
photo?
everyone. Yes, let's have a group.
Okay. Group photo. Kawawa naman yung umalis na. Okay. Ay, sorry.
Please turn your video on. Okay, let's just flash our smiles before we end this day. Okay, so first panel. Okay, the second 1, 2, 3. Let's all smile. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay, next panel. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Smile. All right. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank
Ben,
you.
Dean and
Hi,
Dai, Doc
Ben.
Benny,
Bye. See you.
and the
Thank
rest
you,
of the
Good day.
team.
Good day to
Doc
everyone.
Eri.
Yeah.
Yes, happy weekend to everyone. I'll be ending the Zoom session now. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.